Welcome to the Radiantpreneur Rising Show with me, Jess Tomlinson. Interviews to inspire a new movement of leaders and entrepreneurs. The ones who lead with vulnerability and authenticity, stand in visibility, allowing themselves to truly be seen, are fierce and playful and sexy. Choose business as a spiritual practice. Seek collaboration versus competition. No, giving back is not an option. It's a necessity. They do it their way. They radiate. They rise. Now, let's rise together.
Welcome, everyone, to this special edition of the Radiantpreneur Rising Show. Welcome, my sweetie pie, my love, my amazing partner, Benjamin Petersen.
Hi.
He is normally the guy behind the camera because he's an amazing videographer, but I worked my magic, I think, on convincing him to be here. Hopefully not against your will, babe, but he's here, so that means he's ready and willing to be interviewed, and I'm just really excited for all of you to meet Ben and hear about his story and hear what he's up to in the world as a videographer, how he's really built his business and enjoyed some behind the scenes like perspectives that Ben has acquired from being on the other side of capturing entrepreneurs' visibility. And he has a really cool take on visibility and weaving stories. And we also want to share with you a little bit about our Bali retreat that is all about supporting visible leaders, women entrepreneurs who are ready to take their visibility to the next level, to work through the blocks that need some healing around visibility. And Ben is going to be doing brand videos for every single woman that attends that retreat. And so we'll share a little bit more as we get into this interview. So thanks for being here, babe. Why don't you start by, well, normally what I ask is like, what visibility edge are you leaning into right now in your life and business? So I'm actually curious what you would say, even though I know you're usually behind the camera. Do you have any visibility edges that you're leaning into in your own business right now?
Well, I guess one would be, this right now. That would be a visibility edge. Yeah, I guess something that's coming up for me is just, just being more visible in general. Just, like I was just filming a conference this last week in this 3-day retreat, and unexpectedly was just like called forth to like talk a little bit before the group, and whenever those moments happen, I love what just kind of comes naturally, that stream of consciousness. So I guess that's something that I'm leaning into a little bit more, and just actually being more visible as opposed to just behind the camera all the time.
Yeah, I love that because we were talking when you came home just a few nights ago from that retreat, that you're really more than a videographer. Like, even though that's, the main thing that you're selling is being able to put together these beautiful professional brand videos for people. Like, you bring so much more. So do you want to talk a little bit about that? Because I think it's really helpful for people to understand.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so I guess I'll just speak to something that I think separates me from a lot of videographers. Some videographers will just show up and take footage, only care about the footage that they need to get, and it can be really distracting during an event. And for me, something that's just really important, having attended a lot of events myself and filmed a lot of events, it's just really important to me to keep the sanctity of the magic of the retreat intact. So something that I hear reflected back a lot, especially this recent retreat that I found like that was a big concern of theirs is a lot of really vulnerable inner deep work was happening, and they didn't want the filming to take away from the experience that these people were coming here for, to really like transform their lives. Mm-hmm. And they're just really concerned, like, is this going to be a distraction? Is it going to take away from the experience? Mm-hmm. And what I kept hearing from them and from the participants throughout is just how like they didn't even notice I was there most of the time. Yeah. And that it really didn't take away at all from the experience. And a lot of that is just, I think, some of my just general awareness of energies in the room and sensitivities, and also like having done, like, I have a little bit of history in my background of being an event and wedding coordinator. So mm-hmm. also just understanding the structure of events and being able to anticipate stuff. That I am able to get the footage that I need while still being really respectful to the space and the transformation that happens.
Yeah, I love that, and I think it speaks so much to, like you said, a lot of those fears for event organizers or leaders that want to be captured as they're facilitating, like, oh, well, is it really worth it to have a videographer come and capture my event, because is it going to take away from it? And I loved being able to see you in the retreats that we've gone to together, like in Costa Rica, filming our friend Leah Dunlap's retreat, and then our friend Chloe Rachel Galloway. We've done 2 retreats for her in New Mexico and Sedona, and just witnessing you, like, you seem to have this magical quality to just kind of like blend in and hold space and still get the amazing shots that are necessary. So it's pretty magical. And I've worked with a lot of videographers before, back in my TEDx Women event producing days, and then even in corporate. And I know I have had the same type of concerns, and it's not always been pretty. Or like something will happen and they're like a huge distraction because some tech glitch happens. But like, even when, things need to be like adjusted, you're just so fast to figure out like what needs to happen without disturbing the group. And I just really love that about you. So thanks for doing that for all retreat leaders.
And something else you mentioned there is holding space.
Yeah, and talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I guess it's kind of, people are probably fairly familiar with that term, just like holding space, but just, a combination of just me being able to like feel the energy of the group and the individuals and the leaders, and, the background in event and wedding coordination, and just being able to hold space for the transformation. And so, sometimes if people are like playing games, like, I will get like a little bit close and take some of those shots. But if like someone's like really having like a really intense moment, a lot of it's just like just taking a step back and just allowing the transformation to happen. And just I guess supporting the energy with my energy.
Yeah. So for anybody watching that's like, maybe they are wanting to step more into their own event leadership. They're probably not necessarily a videographer, but just in the realm of holding space, or maybe they want to lead more women's circles, or maybe, those of you watching are considering coming to Bali with us and you're a little bit nervous about like, what would it be like, to have, actually that's like a separate question that I'd love for you to talk about. Like, how do you feel holding space for women's circles? Because you've done a lot of that. But first, let's answer, what is your advice for people if they're curious how to hold better space? And like, how have you been able to do that? And then what's also been your experience holding space for women's circles?
I think it's a little bit complicated to quantify, because it's something that I think kind of naturally just comes from me, but I guess it's from just like tapping into my intuition and just, feeling the room.
Do you guys ever hear a guy talk like this? It's so awesome. We can learn a lot, or other men can learn a lot from you.
Yeah, I guess it's just like feeling the room. I think we've all had moments where, like, if we're with a group of people and someone says something and the whole like energy shifts of the room, and just like being really aware of that and picking up on that. So I guess this is really about like just being open to what's happening before you, and being aware of some of the like the subtle cues that can happen in a group.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think there's like any one particular thing that.
I actually think you captured it, because I mean, I wouldn't know how I would answer that either, because I feel like I've just held space in groups that I've led for so long, held space, supporting other women entrepreneurs that I'm friends with at their events. And I think you touched on something really important, which is it's that openness. Mm-hmm. It's really like being the observer and kind of taking you out of it, and yet bringing you in, if this makes sense, when you what you have observed. Is that how you say that word? Observed. I don't know why that's weird right now. Yeah. But bringing yourself back in when you have like synthesized something that you feel like either needs to be said or needs to be shifted or needs to be done. I think that's beautiful what you said. So that's a good lesson for all of us in our own leadership and our own visibility, that many times it is observing, weird word to say, and then like feeling into the collective energy of the group, or of, whatever visible leadership you're showing up in. This could even apply to if you're doing like a Facebook Live, or even tapping into like your own tribe and your audience that you share with, and social media posts that you're writing. It's kind of like, being able to just observe and then like feel into what needs to be like said or done.
There's something that you said there that I think makes a lot of sense, and it was energy and service. Yeah. And so I think that's a huge part of it, of holding space, is just like, taking the ego out of it, taking yourself out of it, and just energetically just being like, I am of service. I think that's a huge part of holding space. Yeah, which is another reason that it makes you such a great videographer. It's like you really come from that place of service first, which is awesome. So thanks for sharing that. Yeah. All right, so would you like to talk about what is it like to hold space for groups of women? Because you've been in a lot of groups of women, and I'm sure everybody is hanging on an edge, like, ooh, tell us from a male perspective what it's like. What it's like to hold space for groups of women. I mean, you've done it several times for me, for workshops that I've led. You've done it for multiple retreats that you've filmed. Yeah. I mean, it's interesting because most of the stuff, most of the retreats I filmed have been mostly women, if not entirely women, depending upon what it was. So it does bring out like a different energy, I think. Being a man, holding space for women, and holding space for women with that masculine energy of, I guess, out of service, but also really recognizing some of the tenderness that can come up. I don't know if there's anything specifically that I do differently, but well, that's not really what I'm curious about, how you do it different. I just like, what is it like? What is it like? Yeah.
or maybe there's like a moment that you could share where you're like, wow, like it's really an honor to be here. I don't know. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but
Well,
maybe it's
I
not.
definitely, I definitely feel very, I guess, thankful or privileged or honor to be invited into some really special, transformational experiences where it is women and women talking about a lot of stuff that's happened to them, and I guess it's a similar thing of just like taking myself out of it, like allowing them to have their space to go through their own transformation, whether it's you know just personal stuff or stuff that's happened to them, and just yeah, really taking myself out of it. Like that's such an important thing that we've already tapped on, but especially so being a man, oftentimes the only man in these retreats and these moments of transformation. Yeah, I don't know what else to say.
Yeah, is there like a specific moment that you remember?
I mean, there's lots of moments. I can't think of any specific moment in particular.
Yeah. Have you ever faced any resistance from other women?
There's only been a couple times, and I don't take that personally. I try to be as respectful as possible. There's only been a couple times where I've faced any sort of resistance, since I've just immediately backed off and just given space. I do think that that's a big part of it, of being a man holding space for women during these experiences, is taking myself out of it, just allowing it to happen, and not feeling like I need to fix anything, or feeling like I need to like give advice, because that's not appropriate in those situations. So it's just really the energy and just like being supportive.
Yeah. I have a story I can share.
Okay.
I think it's just helpful to share stories, to kind of anchor in these kind of points, especially so you guys can just really see the benefit of a man possibly holding space at your events, because I used to be pretty against it, actually, and now I recognize the benefit of it, because I've been part of events that have had men holding space and witnessed the power, and then you have held space multiple times for me at my events, and it has just been amazing. I also have close friends that their partners are now in their business and they hold space at their 3-day events. And so I think this is just an important topic. And so one event that I remember, the workshop Molly and I did in Ashland, my friend Molly Mandelberg, shout out Molly. We did a workshop in Ashland when Ben was still living there, Ashland, Oregon, which is Southern Oregon. The women that came to that workshop, and then there was also like a few men there, but mostly it was women, except for like you and then the 2 other men that I knew, your friends. And there was this one woman that was really difficult, and I was having a hard time, like, well, first she needed a partner, and then in order to contain really my energy as a leader, I realized that I couldn't be her partner. Do you remember this?
Yeah.
And I kind of threw Ben in the mix, just like, babe, can you please be her partner? Because I knew he would be like the perfect person to just hold space for her energy. And it was like a self-care thing that I had to do for myself as a leader, because I was about ready to be the one to make an offer at the end, and I really was protective of my energy. And you totally just like, boom, went right in, you held space for her, and I saw her energy at the end of the retreat completely shift. And she like came up to me and thanked me, and she had like come into the, did I say retreats? No, it wasn't a retreat, into the workshop. The way that she left, she was just completely different and so positive. And so I thank you. Because I still
Yeah.
remember that. And I just think it's a great example. And he was filming this workshop as well. So just the way you're able to do that is so important. And I invite anyone who is looking to hire a videographer to make sure that they look for that quality, and that they ask about their ability to kind of hold space and how they operate.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I guess that does remind me of one retreat where it's all women except there's 3 men on support staff. So
Mm-hmm.
I think there's like 8 women there and then 3 men on support staff. And when we were doing interviews at the end, I felt compelled a couple times to ask questions regarding what is it like to be in the situation where there's these 3 men just energetically holding space for everybody.
Oh.
And what I kept hearing back was just how healing it was. How healing it was just to have that from men, just these men be there and hold space and be out of service. Like, everybody had their own stories, but
Yeah.
some had some not great situations with men, and just how incredibly healing it was for them to be able to have that opportunity to see the other side of the coin.
Yeah, I remember now. I remember what event that was. Yeah, the reflections around thank you so much for showing me this other side of the masculine, where so many women have been really wounded. You provide a lot of that healing presence. Thank you, babe.
Mm-hmm.
So we dove right into this space holding piece, which I think is really important for us to talk about, and I'm sure somebody got whatever you needed to hear from that. Now I want to dive into, will you tell everybody just kind of like how you landed in the world of as a videographer, the world of videography, and just that journey of like how you ended up where you are today.
Okay.
You can tell it as short as you want, as long as you want.
Well, it was quite a few years ago. I had a business as a photographer, and a friend of mine wanted me to be on this trip to photograph all the participants. This big trip, New Zealand, Vanuatu, and Fiji. It was, I think, like 3 weeks. 40 people attending. And
P.S. We met there.
I'm getting to that.
Okay. Okay. We can talk more about that story.
And so then their photographer came through, and the planner was like, "Hey, do you want to be on the film crew?" I was like, "Interesting. I've always wanted to get into filmmaking." And I was like, yeah, this seems like a really awesome opportunity to do it. I never had any experience at it before. And on that trip, like, it was just so natural and just like second nature. And I heard reflections back from the person who hired me to be there, that like we had some other professionals there, and he was just like way more impressed with what I was bringing to the table, and loved how just like intuitive it was for me. And he immediately asked me to edit the whole trip video, which something I had never done before either. And it turned out amazing, and he didn't have any changes to it.
Okay, first can I say, the whole trip video means literally hours. And how many hours would you estimate? I mean, we were on that trip for several weeks of like kind of nonstop footage.
3 hour, yeah.
And
3 weeks of
multiple videographers.
Times 3 cameras.
3 videographers.
Yeah, I'm sure it was like at least 100, 200 hours of footage.
Yeah,
probably.
So just imagine, and this is Ben's like first big gig.
Yeah, sifting through all that.
Yeah.
And then the video itself, I think, wound up being like an 8-minute kind of like mini documentary. And I mean,
how did that feel to do that video?
Oh, it just felt it just felt incredible. Like I've had a passion for photography, and I've always like, I love that, but it never like fully, it just didn't feel like my life's purpose, I guess. But being there on this journey with everybody, capturing it, and then editing this video that, you know, tells the story of everybody's journey on it, and then to not even like have the person have any edit changes, I'm just like, that doesn't always happen. But it was so rewarding. I was just like, yeah, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And so I dove right in and just like, yeah, okay, this is what I'm doing with my life.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little longer than that, but meaning like a bigger story. Because that, you know, that was kind of the journey of like you and I, and then you committing to your business, and then like, but I'm amazed at how fast you were just like, yeah, this is it. And so tell everybody a little bit about like why videography, because I think it's important to kind of paint this difference. You said that, you know, photography, and I know you're still great at photography. You just shot a wedding a couple days ago. What day are we on? Yeah, a couple days ago. So you're still really amazing at that. But what for you is the difference in videography?
Yeah, there's way more area for play, I guess. Like, you know, I mean, there's an old adage. It's been used a lot. If a picture can tell 1,000 words, then like, what can video do? And just the medium of video, there's just so much to it. There's, you know, people sharing their wisdom, and you know, they're just talking, and their narration, and then there's, you know, the visual imagery, and then there's the music, and then there's the timing of everything. And that's what I love to play with, is to find all those things that really play well together, and just build off of each other. So for me, like the storytelling aspect of videography is what I just love so much, why I'm so passionate about this work, is using all those elements to really create this like really moving and emotionally evocative story.
Yeah. And what do you feel like is like the why that keeps you plugged in to doing videography? What's your like big why behind it? Why is it worth it? Because it takes a lot of work, y'all. I see him in this back room in the corner. You can't see it, but it's through this wall. Hours and hours and hours and hours of just going through footage, crafting, creating, perfectionism. So I witnessed that, right? So what for you is your big why that keeps you plugged into?
I mean, there's just this immense joy and satisfaction with seeing, you know, what I've put together. And sometimes I just like to if I'm ever like in the editing room for like too many hours and just like, okay, I just need a break. Sometimes I go back and watch some of the previous videos I've done for clients. And it just re-inspires me, like, yeah, wow, that was awesome. And so I mean, I guess it's the finished product, and just the impact that video has on people's lives. Yeah, I don't know. Besides that.
Yeah, and some of the, I mean, I'll speak for me. Like, I love seeing when your videos get out there in the world, and just how proud the entrepreneurs are to share the thing that you have taken so many hours to craft with such care and intention, and to weave together their story from all these different pieces. And then also the other footage that, baby, don't move that, it shakes this. Ben's playing with the thing. the bar that keeps this. It's like shaking. And just, yeah, the joy of them, like, oh my God, they're just always so excited to share. And I love to see like the ripple effects that video creates, and the some that we'll never even know about, right? Because like you just never know like what a kind of inspiration a video might create. Like I think back to when I first started my business and I was doing weekly videos, at the time focused on self-care, and one woman later came back to me and like wrote me this long email saying that like she almost committed suicide. And so, but she didn't, because she saw like the video that I had put out. And like, so for me, like I always plug back into like, videos are fucking worth it, man. If they can save one person's life, like, and that's like an extreme, but I experienced that, and I know there's a lot of like feedback that you've experienced from clients, and just the joy that is created and the impact in their business. And yeah.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of aspects to why video is so powerful, and brand videos or retreat videos. I mean, one thing that I've heard a client say to me is just how retreats take quite a bit of work, and there's like a lot of love and energy put into it, and then at the end of it, there's just nothing to show for it. Like it's done, it's like, oh, okay, the retreat's done. And then like there's just like this week of just like, huh, all right, well, what's next? And having video footage for a retreat person just be like to look back and reminisce about, it's just like so valuable for her. That's one of the reasons why she continues to use me. Another thing is for the participants, just to be able to reconnect with that, because I think that's something that comes up a lot. Having gone to a lot of retreats and seen a lot of retreats, is there's that magic that happens during that time, and sometimes it's hard to connect back to that. And like you're on such a high level, like high vibration, high energy, whatever it is afterwards, after you've gone through all the transformation. And then like the next day it's like a little bit less, and then like a week later it's a little bit less, and then there's something like, for me, I know when I go back and like watch some of these videos, it's a little bit easier for me to get back to that vibration.
I love that, because that's one of the main reasons why I was like, I want you at this year's Bali retreat. It's been a few years since I've done my Bali retreat. I did 2 in the past, and now in this, the season that I'm in my life and business, focusing really on visibility and supporting women entrepreneurs in that. And like, like Ben focuses on retreat videography, which is what he's referencing right now about the experience. And one of the reasons why capturing people on retreat is so powerful is because they're in this state of transformation and healing, and they're just shine so much brighter in their radiance. And so I'm like, why don't we bring you into Bali, and each woman can be filmed while they're in this amazing like state of transformation, where their voice is so much clearer and their vibration is so much higher, and they're just really aligned and authentic. And so I love that you brought up that point. Why don't you talk a little bit, I want to hear, what makes a video great and what makes a video shitty? Because I know you got some opinions. We will sit and watch videos, and Ben's like, oh my God, look at this one. And oh, okay, this one's good. Like, so what are kind of like some of the things that you'd just like to riff on?
Definitely I have that eye for things with my work, and then seeing other people's stuff, and like, oh, I would have done that differently. I think that's part of what separates me a little bit, is that attention to detail, and this like natural like artist eye that I've had my whole entire life, through being working with an interior designer,
right.
Being a florist, my mom is super artsy, and so I grew up with that as well. So I have this natural artist eye and like way of seeing things. So sometimes it's as simple as just like framing of shots, framing of interviews with people that I notice, and some of it is like timing, like yes, I guess it's a lot of what I spoke to earlier, just like the subtle things of like if the music is like building, you want the story to build as well to match that. And if there's like a really vulnerable part where, like following the classic storyline of like things being good, down part, and then coming out of it, then you don't want like...
He's referring to the hero's journey and marketing.
Hero's journey and marketing. You don't want like some happy-go-lucky music playing while they're like, yeah, it was really hard time, and there's like this like playful music. No, you want the mood and energy to match what's happening. So yeah, so I think there's so many important things, like energy of the music, energy of the song, everything playing together, trying to like, I guess one thing that I see is just like what I would call sloppy edits with videos where the image is up and then it just doesn't really, it just feels like, oh,
abrupt.
Now I'm already abrupt over here. So that's something that's like super important to me. Like I rewatch my videos before I send them out multiple times just to be like, actually that needs to be a 1/10 of a second later. Like that's how nerdy I get about this.
Which is what makes you so good, because you really pay attention to that. I mean, there's many things that make you so good. Yeah, what else?
Yeah.
Any other like things that you feel like just really make a great video? I mean, I have a few things that I could add to that.
Yeah, I think another thing that I've heard a lot about that's come up recently in conversations with clients and just talking with other people is I think in today's somewhat ADD world, there's this expectation / like yearning of like, oh, everything is to be boom, 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 like super high
hypey,
energy.
Hypey.
Yeah, hype. Yeah. People, I've heard this from quite a few people, like, I want my video to be
inspiring
hype.
and powerful and boom, boom, boom.
And that's great.
Yeah.
And that's awesome for certain videos and that's awesome for certain people.
Yeah.
But that's not how it is for everybody. Like, if someone's doing like really like deep work or like energy healing, that just doesn't feel congruent to me to have a video like that. Like, you want something that's a little bit like softer and meditative, and so that, I think that's a big thing, is like your message needs to match the energy. And so just having a hype video for the sake of having a hype video, like, I'm totally down to do that. I've done some of those videos. Like when my clients last year was leading this 3-day retreat, and he wanted something high energy, and so it perfectly matched him because that's how he is, like really powerful.
Frank Macri, who is the creator, that's what Ben's referring to. He's the creator of Namaste. And so we had the privilege of being able to come into their community. I was support, and then Ben was filming that is a gay community, Namaste. And we are two very straight people that felt super privileged to be there and to help. Ben created an amazing, engaging, authentic brand video for that.
Yeah. And thank you.
Yeah, just I think it helps. It also helps people to get to know you, because you are very accepting, and like, there's going into women's groups, but there's also going into LGBTQ communities. Yeah, and just how you've been welcomed into that. So I think it's just good to state that.
Yeah, I definitely feel very
that is who you be.
Privileged and honored to be welcomed into communities of all different kinds.
Yeah.
and that's something that I'm oftentimes very cognizant of, and just try to talk with the retreat leader just to talk about it. So yeah, I definitely feel very privileged to be welcomed in those, because yeah, everybody needs their special their own community, and if I don't look the part of that community, I want to be really respectful, and yeah, I guess again just hold space for that.
Yeah. Sorry, so I interrupted you because I wanted just people to know who Frank was and the work that you did for him.
Yeah.
But you were mentioning just it was more high energy, and so
yeah,
I
it's
think
a little bit more upbeat.
Yeah, I think one thing that I'll say, we're just kind of sharing a little bit of information here and there about the Bali retreat, and we'll elaborate in a few minutes. But that's the type of people that we usually do attract tends to have more of a healing spiritual element, people who their stories have really impacted the work that they do, and those tend to be a little bit more vulnerable videos, powerful still, but more kind of emotional and vulnerable in that way. Wouldn't you say?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
and maybe a little more your natural style, not that you don't do like the other types of videos, because you do, you totally do.
Yeah, for whatever reason, the clients I've worked with, for most part, have been more, more healing, quiet, emotional, softer. I think that's the right word. Just softer energy, and yeah, just to repeat what I said earlier, I think it's really important for videography to be representative of the person, because I think something you said right earlier was like, I can do hype videos, but I don't really want to do hype videos if you're not a hype person.
Yeah, if it's
because
forced.
it's not congruent, and that's, I think, something that separates me from videographers, is like, I'm not going to force you to be hype. I can help bring that out a little bit. But for me, it's about getting who you are through. And if who you are is a hype person, let's get that out there. Let's bring that part of you through. If who you are is more like peaceful, calm, just like serene energy, then let's bring that out. Authenticity is really important to me.
Authenticity, great. So what would you say for a woman entrepreneur who's watching this? Like, what makes for a really great person to interview or to capture on video? Like, what do you feel like is just makes it easier for you, or what do you feel like they need to be aware of, or like what are your thoughts around like who's ready for a brand video, or like what type of support would they need in order to get on video? I know these are questions that we answer a lot because they're fears that come up with people around their visibility. Is like, oh my god, brand video is going to last forever, and like I'm not ready. And so what would you say? I know that's a lot of different elements, but what's coming up for you when I say that?
Yeah, I guess, I have heard that quite a bit, whether it's, I don't have my messaging perfect. I need to have, like, this in place first before I do all that. Like, for instance, the website. And, I mean, we all have our own priorities, and, yeah, I mean, in terms of having a brand video done, like, that's something that doesn't require a website. That's something that can be shared on social media. Like, I remember, a client of mine last year that is just opening up a swimming coaching business, and not a whole lot of people knew what she was doing. And she was like, okay, we're gonna make this work. She was retired from corporate America, and I was just like, okay, I love swimming. It's my passion, and I'm really good at it. I'm really good at helping other people be better swimmers.
Yeah.
So when I did her video and she released it, like within 24 hours, had over 4,000 views, and people were commenting left and right, like, I had no idea. Wow, this is amazing.
Yeah.
And so just she, I mean, eventually she put it on her website, but just the traction that it can have on social media is just really amazing. That just like in such a short period of time, it gets shared, and people are like actually like understanding what you're doing, as opposed to just like saying, "Oh, I'm a swim coach." Something like this, having a brand video done, can really just showcase your message to the world. And something about working with us is you don't have to have your messaging perfect. I don't expect that from anyone. That's something that kind of comes out in the process, whether it's through interviews. There's a couple different styles that we do it. Some are scripted, some are just us interviewing, and I just pull the pieces that really make sense and create a story.
And for our Bali retreat, we will be doing the interview style, so that you don't have to worry about memorizing while you are, that could get in the way of enjoying your experience in Bali if you're so worried about like keeping your script in your head. But what you will get support in through me is specific questions that we ask. Even when we're scripting the brand video, we first go through this process of asking these specific questions. So versus having to have a script, you'll just have these questions, and I will guide you and support you before the retreat in dialing those in, just so you have worked through the most important pieces. And then I will be interviewing everyone in Bali so that you will know your answers, because just part of the work that you do and who you are, and you've already worked through it, but it'll be authentic in the moment after having done some transformational work. And so, there's those two styles. I just wanted to make sure everybody knew that is what we'll be doing in Bali. And one other thought that I had when you were talking about the swim coach, Shannon, one piece that we really like dialed in for her through these questions was that she had swam like however many crazy miles, I can't remember now because it was just miraculous, like 23 miles, 35.
I think it was somewhere in the 20s.
Okay, some amazing miles.
Insane. I can't even imagine swimming a quarter mile.
Yeah, and so if I hadn't really lovingly encouraged, which happens with most of our clients, by the way, because everybody is a little bit like eating too much humble pie, she at first thought that would be off-putting to people, like that it would seem too far out of reach. But instead, what I want everybody to remember is that your stories are inspiring. The facts and the amazing things that you've done are inspiring. And of course, people don't have to start there. That's actually what you're there to guide them through, is to get them possibly to a place where you have worked hard to get to. And so those like really important pieces.
Something that just came out to me with what you're saying right before that, having to do with like the interview process, like there's depending upon what the project is, either Jess does the interviews or I do the interviews. And for Jess, like she uses a lot of like intuition for asking questions. We also have structured questions, and I use intuition too. And I'll speak to one point in particular that comes up for me is there's been a number of times where I'm doing the interview, and either we're doing a scripting part or I'm asking a question, and something just doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel quite congruent.
Oh, right. Your meter of authenticity. It's like the bullshit-o-meter.
Yeah. And so I call it, and I'm like, did that feel real for you, or did that feel like a stretch, or did that not even feel like accurate at all? So I
Yeah.
think that's something that's really important for
Yeah.
having someone do a brand video is that ability. I guess, as you said, the bullshit meter. The ability to for a videographer to tell if something is like really authentic or not.
Yeah.
And being
Good
willing
point.
to talk about it, which I think is something that both of us
Yeah.
do.
Good point. Yeah, so I just want to circle back around and make sure we answer before we get into sharing more of the details, like who is ready for brand video, because we didn't really close that loop. And what I heard you say in the share around Shannon, the swim coach, she was newer to business, but what she did have was a commitment to know that she wanted to commit to doing swim coaching. So she was clear on like, this is what I'm going to do and I'm going to commit to it. And so I would say that is one thing that you need, is not necessarily clarity around your message, but you do need to be committed to doing your work, and whatever that looks like. And a lot of times what can unfold is you're committed to like your story of like what you have been through and you want to help more people, whether you've been in business for a while and maybe you haven't really shared your story in one potent brand video, or you haven't ever shared your story and you're like, this really needs to get out there, or you haven't really shared your message. Those are three things that you just need the commitment to commit to. I like to say a year so that your brand video has leverage. For some people it might be worth it to commit longer or shorter, but I think a good meter is like a year, where you're committed if you're going to have this video to be able to like share it and utilize it. And things are going to shift and change because they always do in business. That's just reality. So if you're in the world of like, I need to have this dialed in and keep it the same forever, just let that go. It's going to change. It's going to be different. I know, having been in business for 10 years and having multiple iterations of my message and my story, and they just change as you change and grow. And anything else you want to add to just like who's ready for a brand video before we get into Bali?
Trying to think if any like inspiration is coming out, because I think you said it really well. Yeah, that you have that passion for what it is that you're doing, and we work with you to get the messaging to where we want it to be. So
Yeah.
I just think that's such an important thing. You don't have to have social media account with 1 billion followers. You don't need to have like some fancy smancy website. You don't need to have your messaging absolutely perfect. Like all those things are nice, but video is just so powerful on its own. And yeah, if you're passionate about what you do, then yeah, I'd love to work with you and tell your story.
Cool. So let's talk a little bit more about the Bali retreat. I have most of the details, so I'll share most of it, but feel free to chime in if you hear me kind of miss anything. So first, I'm just so grateful to have your willingness to come along on the journey to Bali and to be part of this group that of 8 women entrepreneurs. It's a very intimate retreat that we're calling forward, and to be that masculine space holder and amazing videographer capturing the journey. So thank you for your willingness. And I'm so excited. As I mentioned, I took 2 groups in the past and it's been a few years, and just the magic of Bali is calling me, and I feel this, knowing this in my heart, that more women entrepreneurs are being called into their visible leadership, I call it, when you're willing to really just allow yourself to peel back the layers and step into a new level of your visibility and your leadership as a feminine leader. And that more women entrepreneurs are oversaturated and completely burnt out and really in this too much information, too many strategies, and I really just want to provide the opportunity to allow all of that to melt away. And the best way I know how to do that, and what I've experienced in my own business and life, is that going into an immersive experience where you are away from your home, where you are even better in a different country, um, that you're allowed, your body sends a different signal to you where it's like, oh, I can relax. And your mind says, oh, I can think differently because this isn't my normal surrounding. And I'm not just in the daily grind, and I'm not just plugging away or spinning my wheels, or just like doing so much, you know? And so this is a really powerful experience, that is all inclusive, and it is, um, 8 days or 8 nights, 9 days. And so a good chunk of time. And the reason that I do that amount of time is because if you're going to go halfway across the world, trust me, you're going to want to be there for that amount of time versus like 3 days or 4 days or whatever people have sometimes reflected to me like, oh, I wish it was shorter. I can't dedicate that amount of time. Trust me that when you are there, you're not going to want to leave. Every single woman who's been on my retreat who has struggled to wrap their mind around like leaving their kids or their families or their, you know, their business behind, which you're not leaving your business behind, you're growing yourself and your business on this retreat. And yes, of course, you're going to be away from your loved ones, but you are going to come back a whole beautiful, new, amazing woman, totally refreshed, and with a brand video, because during the retreat, Ben and I will be spending one-on-one time with you dedicated for each woman to film her brand video in Bali, which is just a beautiful place to do it. And so the retreat is October 16th or 18th through the 26th. For some reason, I'm having a brain fart, so I'm going to check real quick just to double check. Don't want to give you the wrong date. Yeah, October 18th through the 26th. 2019, if you are watching this live, 2019. And so that is a time frame, and it's an all-inclusive retreat. So what is included is you will have 2 pre-group calls, so calls with the group of women who join, where we'll be getting to know each other, of course. You can get all excited about being in person with the sisterhood and women who will be going through this process with you, and there's just nothing like having that journey together. And then I'll also be supporting you in answering the questions for your brand video, getting clarity around your messaging, your branding, and also, you will get a one-on-one call with me, a private call where we will hash out any of the final details that need to be fleshed out so that you feel really good, and prepared for, you know, sharing your message and your story. And then during the retreat, there's a lot of juicy stuff. There is, as I said, everything is included. So you'll have your own private room, and you will have every single meal included and prepared. Most of the meals will be prepared by a private chef. That is just like such delicious, yummy food, and we will tailor to every single woman's needs. I understand everybody has dietary needs, and so I'm really keen on making sure that each woman feels like she's taken care of, which is really important, right? Because you're going to get on video and you're going to have this transformational process. So I want you to feel really amazing. And also included will be a spa treatment, right? Not necessarily right before, but before you have your brand video filmed, so that, you know, you're relaxed. I know a lot of people will just kind of like up-level their visibility and they're not in a relaxed state, and it's just kind of like, whoa, like a shock, or they're tense when they're filming their videos. And so you'll have the opportunity to really just like have your physical body worked on so that you can show up as your best self. And also during the retreat, we will have morning circles where we'll be sharing, connecting, hearing each other, and I will be leading transformational activities to work through whatever visibility blocks are coming up. for you. And it's different for everyone. There's different fears around, like, being too bold or being too vulnerable or sharing your story, or fears around judgment, or fears around, you know, dissuading people, or like speaking your truth is going to like turn off your family or your previous coworkers if you used to be in corporate, or maybe there's fears around like being too spiritual. I know a lot of my clients have that fear of like, oh, I'm coming out, so we've got you. I've got you. This whole experience is going to be holding you in healing those visibility wounds, or what I like to call removing the visibility veil, because that veil really keeps us from being our most authentic self, from truly being seen, truly being heard, and being in alignment with our authentic radiance and feminine leadership. So all of those activities are going to be really juicy and yummy, and just amazing results have come out of the previous retreats that I've led, and the women that have gone through it, so much so that they've said things like, for the first time ever, I feel accepted in a group of women. One woman told me that, and I'm just like, whoa, that's it. That's everything, right? Healing that sisterhood wound. Another woman felt like 10 years were removed from her, and that she felt truly healed. Those were the words that she used. Another woman's was surprised, because she's a very strong woman, that she could be held in her most broken pieces. She used those terms, and really like find alignment with her purpose and moving forward. So those are just some examples of things that are possible for you too. So other things, just to go through a few more of the list. Excursions that we'll be doing to really prepare you for, revealing your visibility, or revealing your radiance, as I like to say. We'll be going to the monkey forest, which is included. So your admission to the monkey forest, and that's where we get to like tap into more of our playful authenticity, and experience what it's like to just have fun for once. What? Super exciting experience. We'll also be going to the Holy Springs Water Temple, which I will lead an activation ritual, and we'll be washing ourselves in the 13 fountains that was built in 900 AD. Crazy, super old, yes. And the local Balinese like go there to really like remove impurities and like come back into oneness. So it's pretty cool, because there's just a lot of local people. And we will be specifically focusing on removing those visibility veils and calling in your, really washing yourself with radiance. And then of course you'll have your own intentions to set as you go from fountain to fountain. So super magical and powerful with that. We'll also go to see all the rice paddy fields, which is a really fun experience. We'll meander down the path and walk to one of the most delicious organic restaurants I've ever been to in my life, called Sari Organics. Sari like the like Indian sari that you wear. That's how it's spelled. And you get to sit like up on these like cushions and overlook all the rice paddies. It's so delicious and fun. So that will be like our excursion day and activities with intention. And then the rest of the time will be spent, going to the beaches, and you'll have lots of downtime. And when I say that, I mean that, because I've gone to retreats that say you'll have lots of relaxation time. And really what they mean is that you'll have lots of time to eat, but that's it. So I promise that is one thing I'm incorporating, because we know how much healing takes. Healing takes a lot of energy. So we're going to have very potent, immersive moments and experiences, and then you'll have lots of time to integrate. And then of course you want, to be able to feel your best when you get on video. And so we'll plan for your dedicated time where you feel fully seen and supported during your actual filming. So I think that's all that's included. And then when we come back home, one of the big problems I see with retreats is they don't have group integration calls. So we will have two. We'll have two group integration calls where you can share what's up for you, what you need support in, integrating back into quote unquote real life, and also sharing how great you feel and how excited you feel and all the changes you've experienced. And then I'll also be teaching you on the practical side marketing strategies to share your video once you get your video delivered to you, so that you can share it in the most engaging and impactful way possible. So with that said, babe, is there anything you want to just share about like a brand video, like tangible things of like what that looks like, what a brand video is, or like how that will be? Anything you feel like they should know? If they're like, what is a brand video? I realized we kind of described it. But anything to like wrap that up?
Yeah, so I guess a brand video is just you telling your story, and it being edited. It's a highly edited video that really highlights the biggest parts of your messages, and does it in a really artful and emotional way. So it's yeah, I don't
Yeah. So what Ben means by artful is, so we'll have your interview during the retreat, but we will also have what's called B-roll footage of you. So this is you during the retreat in your natural environment, like moments of you laughing or smiling, or moments of you meandering down the rice paddies, if that fits your brand, or there's lots of opportunities, right, for us to like customize what that footage of you just being you looks like. For some of you, it will be you do lead groups, or you want to lead groups, you want to do retreats maybe, and so it will be important for us to plan you leading the group to showcase that. For others of you, maybe you have more just of you only on the video, and then we customize what that looks like, what kind of movements. And so that's where my specialty comes in, capturing you in your natural environment, but also planning for those important things that capture your brand. And then Ben weaves them all together like a magical wizard and delivers you. Usually it's about a 3 to 5 minute video. And then boom, you'll have your beautiful, highly edited, high quality, amazing brand video story to share with the world and inspire millions. So I think we'll wrap up by, of course, if you're like, oh my God, okay, you've told me so much, this is amazing. If you are interested, visit the website, my website, jessicatomlinson.com/retreats with an S, and you'll find all this information that I just shared, plus a little bit more, some ideas for how you could use a brand video if you're leaning in. And you can request an application and make sure to submit it. The deadline for submission is coming up like in just a few days. So if you're watching this, please take advantage of hopping over to the website, requesting your application, and then submitting that application ASAP so we can hop on a call. If I review your application, you seem like a good fit, then I'll invite you to book a call. And when we hop on that call, we'll discuss a little bit more where you're at, your goals around your visibility, and then discuss how Bali might be a great fit for you, if I truly authentically feel like it is. And then we'll talk about the investment for the retreat and the different options, and then if we're both a yes to that, and you feel aligned, then we will move forward. And we will see you in Bali in October. And so the final thing I just want to say is that I'm so excited to welcome in the women who are just hungry for this experience, who are hungry to receive a beautiful brand video from Ben to really get their message out there and uplevel their visibility. It would be truly an honor. Anything else you want to say, babe, wrapping up?
No, just yeah, I guess just exactly what you said. Like, it has been such an honor and continues to be such an honor to tell people's stories, and especially to tell women's stories. It's definitely a huge honor for me to be a part of that and getting their message out there to more people. So yeah, it would be my honor to tell your story.
Beautiful. Thank you, Ben.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for doing this interview. Is there any last words that you feel like you just want to share, words of wisdom? It doesn't have to be related to the retreat, just any last words.
Any last words? No.
Is something funny coming to mind? A joke?
No words are coming
A
to
joke,
mind.
perhaps? Ben is a great jokester. Tell us a joke. We'll end on a joke.
Yeah, wait, what was that joke? Hold on. Oh yeah, okay. Hold on. I have the punchline and I have the main part of the joke. Oh yeah, okay. Got it. So, this is one of my new favorite jokes. What did Cinderella say while she was waiting for her photos to get developed? Slightly old school, you know. That doesn't happen these days, but what did Cinderella say when she was waiting for...
Someday my prince will come!
Yep.
Ah! You told me this one, I
Yeah,
think.
yeah.
I remember it. Oh, so
You
good.
remembered it.
I remembered it. Yay. So if you guys are we didn't get to tell our story, but yeah, I met Ben on that epic retreat. He's amazing. I love you. His work is so phenomenal. If you want to see more, if you want to see examples, there's some examples of his work on the retreat page, jessicatomlinson.com/retreats. But if you want to get directly in contact with Ben, his work is, there's a few more examples up on visiblevideoproductions.com.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can also contact him directly over there. Productions with an S, right?
Mm-hmm.
So visiblevideoproductions.com. You can see those videos that he was talking about with the swimmer, and then also Namaste, and a couple others over there. So we love you guys. And also, if you want to access the show notes for this episode, so many links, but I'll just give you one more. It's going to be up at jessicatomlinson.com/show-22, episode number 22.